Well, hello, everyone. I'm Tomas Garza, and welcome back to this series on A Course in Miracles. We're going through the workbook for students, and just a quick and special announcement to accompany this particular video. What you see behind me is a bit of artwork that I've had pretty much throughout this whole series of videos here in my office in Phoenix, Arizona. This is, I'm very happy to say, the very last video from this location. Next week, my wife, Cindy, and I will be moving. We're moving about 20 miles away to a different house, both houses in the Phoenix area. So we're not going far, but I will be coming to you from a very different location. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, as always, I invite you to join me as we go forward because we're not done with the workbook. And I wish to pose the question, when are you ever finished with the workbook? You know where I'm going with that one. Which doesn't mean in this ongoing video series that we're going to repeat the workbook from day one. Once we get to day 365, there will be some different videos in this series. I'd like to take us through the manual for teachers and then into the text, and we'll take it from there. This is something that I very much enjoy doing and have enjoyed. We started this video series as a live stream, incidentally, back in January of 2021, which is now a year and 3 months ago. Yeah. This started as a live stream on Enlightened World Network, and we decided about 6 or 7 months after that to pre-record. So this material is available both on my own YouTube channel and on Enlightened World Network's channel. So it's a beautiful thing. I appreciate your joining me, and of course, as always, your spiritual practice. So, well, there's both a lot and next to nothing at all to say about the idea that we're covering today in the workbook, and that is lesson 313. So now let a new perception come to me. Now, let a new perception come to me. When else? Now. I wanted to emphasize that. Yeah, so as we discuss this, some context here is that this lesson, lesson 313, falls in a series of 10 lessons that have the overarching question at this stage in the workbook: what is the last judgment? All right, so we had a video on that where I talked about what the last judgment both is and is not, because the world gets it, of course, completely backwards. Naturally. Yeah. I mean, if we had it all figured out, you wouldn't be watching me doing this. This wouldn't be here, would it? Yeah, but we don't. So here we are. Yeah. The last judgment is, in truth, the only judgment that's possible, and we cannot make it. So for some cross-reference for course students, I'd like to refer you to question 10 in the manual for teachers here. So I'll be borrowing from that material as we talk about lesson 313 in the workbook, because we're looking at setting our judgment aside. Yeah. This is what we need to do. This is what we're here to do, and this is what we need our teachers' help in doing. Setting our own judgment aside, because as the manual correctly and most definitively puts it, how can we be sure that our own judgment is wise? We might think it's wise, but can we rest 100% assured that our judgment is the best for every living thing, both now and in the future, is wholly benign and is in the absolute 100% best interest of every living thing? All over the world, everywhere, in all times. Can we rest assured that our judgment can bring that with certainty? And when each of us answers no, it should be encouraging to note that we don't have to judge. We're not actually capable of judging. The only judgment there is what's known as the final judgment, that God's Son is guiltless. There is no sin. Forever guiltless. That is the judgment, benign, not punitive. Nobody is being sent to a fiery hell because they looked at someone the wrong way. No one's being sent to a fiery, bubbling cauldron of torture and torment for eternity because they went to a different building on the other side of the world than someone else's building in a completely different culture, society on another side of the world. Yeah, you know? I mean, really. It is to come as a relief, and I hope that it may come as a relief to you that you actually can't judge. So let's give that up. World sees our judgment as wisdom. Actually, wisdom's giving up judgment. It's exactly backwards. The world has it 180 degrees backwards, as usual. As usual. Wisdom is, in fact, giving up judgment. So when we say in lesson 313, now let a new perception come to me, we are asking to see with the vision of Christ, which is an idea that we've talked about. We're asking to see the world as a benign, loving place, a place forgiven. We're asking to see what the Course refers to as the real world. Not the TV show from MTV, by the way. In case you were in your teens or 20s in the 90s, like I was, you know, if you don't remember that show, don't worry about it. You're not missing much. Just some early reality TV and staged arguments for the camera. I have to laugh just thinking back on that. So when the Course talks about the real world, they're talking about the world forgiven, wholly loving and benign, not a fearful place where one large country with a very large military attacks its neighbor, which is going on right now, by the way. Russia and Ukraine are at war with each other. And when this war is over, as it will eventually end, there'll be another armed conflict somewhere else in the world. Unfortunately, right? In lesson 313, we're asking to see with the vision of Christ, which means laying our judgment aside and asking to see with the vision of Christ. So what happens when we, in fact, perceive the real world? Well, it's the end of perception, because as the Course describes it, God takes the final step himself, and that's actually the end of perception, which is dualistic. You can't, in perception, there's a perceiver and the perceived, right? It's duality. There's a subject, object, a me, you. So this is the last perception, seeing the real world, and then God takes the final step himself. We're then absorbed into God. It's allowing reality to be as it is, because we've never left. So what we're doing with our practice of forgiveness, what we're doing with any practice of mindfulness, of spirituality, of prayer, of loving kindness, no matter what outward form it takes, doesn't matter the outward form. What matters is what you're actually doing. It's the content of it. It's setting the ego to the side, setting our judgment to the side so that we may see with the vision of Christ. Incidentally, the Christ is the Son of God. Everyone, every living thing, the creation of God, the thought of God, the extension of God. Name your term, right? Name your term. The Christ is who I am. It's who you are. It's who your worst enemy is. It's who Vladimir Putin is, who decided to attack his neighbor recently, right? It's who the most bloodthirsty tyrants in the history of the world are. Stalin, Hitler, others. There have been many, right? There have been many. Anyone who has exploited another person is still the Christ, just as you are. How is this possible? There is no separation of any kind. God's creation is whole and one forever. To have divisions and separation in truth is impossible. So, as I have often done in this series of videos, I would refer you to the introduction of A Course in Miracles for some review, some support, for some really valuable, powerful guidance here. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. And I invite you to find that, to seek nothing else, to formulate the wish that's articulated in lesson 313, the wish to see with the vision of Christ. See the world forgiven. How does one do that? Forgive. All right, guys. I'm looking forward to coming to you in a few days' time from a brand new location, somewhere else in the Phoenix metro area. So wherever you all are today, I hope that you have a beautiful day, a beautiful evening, and that you continue your spiritual practice honestly, earnestly, right? Wholeheartedly. And yeah, make that commitment again and again. It's what the present moment is for us to choose yet again. I'll see you soon.